Hi, Dan here, next to R2 and the remnants of our Christmas tree. Now you probably think that this video is clickbait, but I can assure you that is not the case. You see, I'm the proud owner of a Sony FX3, which I absolutely love, and it's an amazing camera, particularly when they came out with firmware update 2.0. Now, I had done a couple of shoots with this camera, and obviously with the update of 2.0, everything was, it was great. It had, it became a cinema line camera with Cine EI and obviously being able to import LUTs. But what happened was, last year I was doing a shoot, and I basically started recording, and I realized that it wasn't recording audio. I didn't have the audio handle on at the time, but basically I was relying on the built-in microphones to do the job. But I looked at the screen and there was no audio, and I was like, well, what's going on here? Because when you're recording audio internally, I mean, literally, you turn the camera on and the audio levels are there. It's a no-brainer. So I was a bit confused and concerned, but fortunately we had a backup plan for that shoot, so it was all fine. But I tried to do some troubleshooting, but what I found was that the built-in mics weren't working, and the 3.5mm audio input jack wasn't working either. So I basically decided to reach out to Sony to find out. Actually, someone called me up and we discussed it, and they asked me to do some tests for them. So I basically did a built-in mic test, and then I also did a 3.5mm audio input test, and then also I did a test on the audio handle, which comes with the camera, and that has the built-in XLR inputs, which I plugged a shotgun microphone into. Now that recording actually worked, but the built-in mics didn't work, and the 3.5mm audio input signal didn't work, but the audio handle did work. So Sony then told me that I needed to send it in to be inspected. I sent it in. It was I think it was around beginning of November last year, 2022. And it took a good few weeks to basically get it to Sony because of the postal strike. But then when Sony got it, they did some investigating into it, and they found out that basically, it needed to be repaired, and it was going to cost £600. So basically, we had to pay £600 to get it repaired because I needed to get the camera back. So I got I paid for it. And then a few weeks went by, and then eventually I got the camera back. Unfortunately, it went back to, they'd basically put it back to the factory reset, I guess, which was firmware 1.01. And I was disappointed because I didn't have all the new functionality that came with 2.0. I then went on the Sony website to find out if I could download the latest firmware, which was 2.01, and subsequently it had basically been withdrawn, and no one could basically download it. And I wanted to try get 2.0 because I knew that one worked, and I couldn't find it anywhere on the internet. I got hold of Sony, and they basically told me that unfortunately there's no way of getting 2.0 or 2.01. Now obviously I didn't really want 2.01 because it seemed like there were issues with it. Now when I got the camera back, I turned it on, and straight away, the audio signals were working, everything was fine. So it was working again, which was great. But I was still only on 1.01. So I did a little bit of research while I was trying to find the updated firmware, and I actually found that there were a couple of other people online that actually had the exact same problem with the camera, that their built-in mics basically just didn't work, and the 3.5mm audio input didn't work either, but the audio handle did work. So it could be the case that basically 2.01 is what actually killed my camera, and that was why they actually ended up with withdrawing it from the website for us to download. So I was really disappointed because then I was on 1.01 and, you know, I felt like we had sort of gone backwards and it cost money and I had been without the camera for a few months. So then I just happened to yesterday go onto the Sony website and it turned out that they've just released firmware 2.02 and I downloaded it straight away and I've imported it, installed it onto the camera, and it seems like everything's working fine now. As soon as I turned it on, the audio signals were working, so everything's fine. So at the moment, it looks like all is good. I've got a shoot tomorrow that I'm doing with a band in a rehearsal space. So I'm going to basically put it to the test and do a day's worth of filming, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's great to finally know that my camera is back. It's now Netflix certified because obviously the 1.01 didn't give you that Netflix certification. Now it's got it. So yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm going to be releasing anything on Netflix anytime soon, but the point is that, you know, this is like a cinema line camera. It's like it should have, you know, all the great functionalities to it. And I look forward to Sony bringing out further updates as well to, you know, to add to the feature set that it's already got. But yeah, it's a great camera. I'd love to know if you guys have had any issues with your FX3, if you had the same issues that I had. And yeah, get yourself up to 2.02 and yeah, happy creating. Thanks a lot. Cheers, eh? Bye-bye.